Okay, weekly crypto review. Let's have a look. Let's look at the Bitcoin dominance first and see what is going on there. Let's start from the weekly view and let's see what's up. So Bitcoin dominance is definitely slowing down, but it's not finished yet. And I don't know if we're gonna see a complete collapse of Bitcoin dominance tonight? I don't think so, because although we got a big rejection candle here, um, I don't think that I don't think that it will completely become red. Um, if I go to the daily chart and we see what's happened. So we do have the divergences which are in play, but these divergences normally take time. They take time to play out. So like, you've got here, there, here, and there. So it's getting there, but it's not really kind of kicked in yet. The beginnings, the humble beginnings are in there, as you can see. But I think we might end up pushing back up again to somewhere there. I think we probably do that. I think Bitcoin dominance goes up again to at least somewhere there, middle of the week of this, the middle before maybe collapsing. So I may be wrong, it could just collapse, but I think these weeks when they are this long, they tend to be normally tested first before they collapse. And then if we go and look at it from a 4 hour setup, which I normally like 4 hours as well. So Bitcoin dominance has been going kind of like in a box, really. Um, what we need is for it to cross this 50-day moving average and confirm below, then we know, okay, yeah, it's done. But looking at the way the 4 hours is set up, we have a divergence here, and it's very likely that Bitcoin dominance continues to go up, I think. So if it breaks down, it'll be really helpful for us. Breaking down will be really helpful. And I think this 8 hours, okay, there's some good things here on this 8 hour chart because MACD is still red. And we've kind of Bitcoin dominance tried to go up and it's been rejected. So let's see. I think this 8 hour chart is looking a little bit promising. But there is still a divergence on it. So, you could end up with it going up, like I said before, coming down. Um, so let's see how Bitcoin dominance plays out. I think, tonight into tomorrow. Let's go and look at Bitcoin itself and see. So Bitcoin, let's bring Bitcoin in. So what is happening here on Bitcoin? And this is okay, we already have a dead cross happening. But let's look at it from a weekly scale, right? So on a weekly scale, you can see that, we're coming down. Energy flow is down at the moment. There's a bit of a rejection, but look at the MACD here, and you can see that MACD is now come down below zero. The last time we did that was here. So if you look at this part here, yeah, the last time we did that was here. And yes, sometimes, we come below and we can go up before we collapse back down. So, it depends on how the night closes. If we close green, like we did here, then it's possible for us to, go up after maybe a small move to the downside. So it depends on how we close on this candle. If we go and look at it from a daily perspective, I think we get a little bit more perspective on it. I think the good news for me that I see with this is that MACD is green, and and we've had this big sell-off candle, and it's green. And we've kind of tested the candle a little bit, but we've been rejected here so many times. This 200 moving average, this 50-day moving average, we've been rejected one, two, three, four, and these are kind of like tiny, tiny candles. So it can still go up, and I think we can hit even 100K, but I think the probabilities are it comes a little bit down first, more likely than not. If we go to 4 hours and go and look at the 4 hour setup, so since we hit this low, we've gone up and we've come back into it. And all these time, we have all these sort of candles, which these pink candles here, this pink candle here is sitting at what? 95648, which hasn't been exceeded. Yeah. So I expect it to be exceeded at some point. And then you've had another one here as well, which would be exceeded at some point as well. So the chances of us going down, it's pretty high. I think we can still come back here and, maybe even go all the way up to here, which would be, 100K, 101K, or even here. So between 99K and here, we can hit it. It can be hit, but I think there's still more downside on it on this 4 hour setup. Because all we've done is gone here, and this is a one drop, and this is two. So there is a third one somewhere. So yeah, I think more likely this thing comes down. I think on the 8 hours we had a dead cross, yes. So here we're having a dead cross on 8 hours. This is about to cross the 200 MA. So it's gonna cross this and we're gonna rally into it a little bit. So we could rally up a bit. It could even rally all the way up to here, you know. But this will cross this and it will push price down. And these are, all gonna cross at some point and push price down. So there could be a small mini move to the upside. But I think it's a fake out. If you look at it from my perspective, I think we come back down again. At the very least, back to this base, 94K, ideally, or we come to somewhere there. And if we get support 93K, then we'll be on our way going back up. But the chances of us coming down to 85K is very, very, very high. It's very high because, you know, what you've got is this is one level drop. Even if you count this as two, you count this as three, you count this as four, there's a fifth left. And that fifth could be coming all the way to maybe 85K, 84K, you know, because this candle here is really the candle we need to get, they're gonna get. So which is sitting at what? 85,131. So anything at the base here, 84.3, is going to be okay, um, somewhere there. So a bit more downside, I think, on Bitcoin in tonight into tomorrow and probably into even early into Monday. I think will be a down. Let's look at the others dominance and see what the other dominance has done. So on the other dominance, let's go to the daily chart and see what's going on there. Daily chart. So here we've got, and I've been counting my levels. So we have one drop there, level two drop, and we've got our level three, right? So three drops have been achieved. Sometimes you can have a last zip to the downside on it, which will give us, the kind of last move. Ideally, this would have been ideal, which is about 50% of the wick, and then you go up. But with Bitcoin due to fall, it's hard to see that this turns around and goes up. If we go into the weekly chart, this weekly chart is not green. It's still a red candle. And even if it closes like this, if we were to close like this here, I still expect us to come back into it and into this somewhere here before or a double bottom or slightly lower. So there is still one more active move to the downside, you know, on this. Similar to like if you look at this one here, right? This candle here. I mean, it's not from the bottom, but you have something like this into the next week, you come back into it first before you go up, right? Similar to like this one, you know, you close, you come back into it first, and then you try to go up. So they're all like that. You come back in and then you go up. So, I do expect that we'll get something like that tonight. So it's looking good. There's some good stuff that is done, but I think there'll be a little bit more pain in my view, before we kind of really get going. So tonight into tomorrow, I think, we should be expecting some moves, some kind of, I guess, a bit of a painful, move, I guess. So, but some of the coins can still pump. You can get some good pumps on some of the coins if they are, you know, needing to finish the moves that they are on. So, but I think caution on the down, more move to the downside is probably more. It's more that I see. And then let's look at UMA, for example, um, UMA BTC, and look at it from a higher time frame. So it's trying to reject the lower price that we formed, which is great to see. But I think wherever we close this candle this week, we will come back into it. So at the very least, somewhere there, at the very least. So there will be some more downside on UMA before we go up. If we bring it to the USD chart and have a look, we can see again, very similar story. So you can see we get the rejection, and normally when you close like this, you tend to come back into it. So I'd expect us to hit about maybe 160 at the very least, or we will hit a double bottom or slightly lower figure, maybe worst case scenario 110, something like that. Um, and then we can accelerate ourselves. So there's a bit more falling on UMA as well. There's a bit more falling first tonight. If we look at tier BTC, for example, again on the weekly chart, we can see we having a rejection. The thing with this pink candle is, I hope it doesn't become a pink candle because these pink candles are exceeded, right? So if we go and have a look at some of the pink candles like this one here, you tend to go up first, then you kind of go up, then exceed it, go up, exceed it, you know. So uh, that tells me there could be, you know, some more downside. And also we are just kind of, I guess, coming below zero. As you can see, we just coming below zero. So there is more downside. If we look at it from the USD chart, it's done a lot of work. There's good work being done, and this is a good rejection candle. So, if we close like this at midnight, then you can expect us to either do a middle of the road 272, or you can do a double bottom at 234, or we go slightly lower. And I think, more likely, one of those scenarios will play out here, here, 160, 170, 270, or 234, or we go slightly lower, which will be around like $2, or maybe even slightly lower, which will be like 180 or whatever. If you look at the bottom of tier, it's $2.08. So I won't be surprised that we hit 208 because that's a double bottom type scenario, and that it's like giving you really energy to go up. So, that's what I'm looking at on tier, a little bit more downside on tier before we go up. Now let's look at Pepe and see what's going on with Pepe as well. So Pepe is also under the 200. So, we try to come back above the 200 and we seem to be rejected. So, which suggests there will be more downside on Pepe as well. I think from a support zone perspective, we have a good support sitting around the 5-7 zone. So, I think last week's area of interest has been hit. So let's move this to this point here and move this to there. This could be also a very good area. So somewhere in between here, I think we will hit that, or let's move this to this base here, 4. Yeah, somewhere there. I think we'll hit that before we go anywhere. So that's Pepe. Let's move on to, I just want to look at Solana because Solana is of interest to me. So Solana, I mean, this is a big candle, and normally afterwards you're gonna come all the way back into it. We've come back into it. I think there's more downside, Again, it's one of those where I think I'll keep the area of interest where it is. I'll keep it where it is. So I will say it falls into that kind of box. I think this is too big. Anyway, let's get it smaller. Yeah, so somewhere here, potentially, I would expect Solana to get into that zone before we go up. So somewhere around like 150, 150, 156, somewhere there. I think we'll hit it. So that's Solana. Let's move on to Render, see what Render is doing. I think Render also will do the same. Yeah, so I think it will do the same. It's kind of going to do I need to move this box to there and then extend it down slightly. Let me see where the lowest point of render is 338. We've actually gone below that. So yeah, so something like this, I think somewhere here, I think that will be hit on render as well. It's a little bit more downside on that one too. And then let's move on to Ethereum. Let's look at Ethereum and see what Ethereum is doing. Yeah, Ethereum is also doing some good work. It's kind of re being, rejecting the 200 on the weekly chart. So I think if we close like this, I would expect us to come back into it. And I think we'll retest the 200 again, and then hopefully find some support to then go up. Or we will go slightly lower and then bounce our way back up. So again, some more downside as well on Ethereum. Uh, if we go and look at Pendle, I think Pendle is one that I really like the chart. It's a strong chart. Um, Really, really strong. It's come back to base and $2.12. And it's got a very strong bullish candle on it on the weekly chart, which says, okay, next week you're going to come back into this. So I would see Pendle coming back to maybe base somewhere here and then getting support to then go up. So it's looking good on Pendle. I mean, I really like this chart. I know I probably would have bought it if yeah, I really like the Pendle chart. Although it will still come back down a little bit more, I think it's looking really good. It's looking really strong. It's looking very strong, like a double bottom type scenario here. So, but it's still got one more leg to the downside. Which other coin did I wanted to talk about? There's one interesting thing that I'm looking at on the dollar, right? So the dollar is beginning to collapse, and we've had this weekly triple red scenario on the dollar. So, but next week I expect that the dollar will bounce back up first. So bounce back up to somewhere here And whilst it's doing that, all these risk assets are going to go down, right? So, it could bounce even all the way up to here. It could come all the way up to here. But normally it's 50%, but you can also expect it to come to the top here. If that happens, and I do expect that to happen, then all the risk assets will keep going down. It's similar to all these big candles when you have them, like here, you can see here, you have them, you have a strong bounce up first. Here, you have them, you have a strong bounce up. Here, you have a bounce up first before you go down. So I'm expecting that same scenario to play out before we actually bounce back to the 50. This is the 50 EMA. Yeah, but the dollar is collapsing, which is great for risk assets, but it's not, it's like killing a cat. The cat is not dead yet, so it's still struggling. And it will take a bit of maybe a week maximum. And then it will really, really take its part in terms of, going down. So that would help risk assets, but I think the first part of next week, they will struggle as a result. So that is I think about it in terms of what we're seeing. And of course, I'll give you guys an update on Monday morning if anything changes. Okay.